Welcome to the Dean Blechman Show, live from Long Island. Free-flowing talk with a charismatic, down-to-earth host. Join Dean as he interviews and chats freely with his guests, ranging from superstar athletes to politicians, industry titans, and everyday folk with fascinating life stories. Dean educates, entertains, and most of all, touches people's lives. You're listening to the Dean Blechman Show, live from Long Island.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dean Blechman Show. This is your host, Dean. In the studio today is senior correspondent Scott Morrell. Scott, good morning. How are you?
Frustrated, but thank you.
Okay. Anthony Lacauzi, how are you today, Anthony?
What's up, gang? I'm good. I'm very good.
Let's go over to the UK and senior correspondent Ria. Ria, good morning. Well, good afternoon to you.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Well, Ria, listen, the political landscape here in the United States can't get any hotter. Everyone's saying it's a civil war that's starting. And I know this is a spontaneous, blind kind of show that we do here. And there's no one better that I think we've got to go over to. We've got to call Delray Beach, Florida. Get on the phone, see if she's available, catch her. I hope she's available, but my mom, Jean Blechman. Let's try to reach her, Anthony.
Let's see if she picks up here. Should be interesting to hear what she has to say about the recent events.
If she's there.
Yeah. Worst case, we could always try her back later in the show. Oh, I think we got her. Mrs. Blechman?
Mom?
Yes.
Mom, this is your son, Dean.
Yes, I don't hear you too well, Dean.
Do you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear?
Wait, let me get Caesar. Caesar, I don't hear him too well.
Let me check the volume.
All right.
Mom, do you hear me now? I'll keep talking.
I hear you.
Can you hear? Can you hear me better?
Yes, now it's better.
It's better?
Yes.
Mom, I'm sorry I didn't give you notice. I'm glad you're here. There's a little bit of an echo.
Turn the volume down.
Can Caesar turn your volume down a little bit?
Turn down a little bit. Okay.
How's that? Is that better? I think that's much better, Mom. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mom, thank you for being on the Dean Blechman Show today. I know you've got a busy schedule, and without giving you any notice, I'm calling you spontaneously. Just want to say, how's your morning going so far?
I'm not a happy camper this morning, Dean.
What's the matter, Mom?
I don't know whether you want to hear all my tales of woe.
Well, before you do tell the tales, I just want to let you know I'm with my dear friends who you know. Scott Morrell's here in the studio. Anthony Lacauzi's here. And Ria from the UK is in on the show as well. So they all want to say hi to you and good morning.
Hi, you all.
Good morning, Mrs. Blechman.
Good morning,
Everybody
Mrs.
was
Blechman.
supposed to join me on that.
Sounds
like Good Morning, Vietnam.
But good morning anyway.
Mom, I'd love to hear your tales this morning.
Well, I don't really know where to start. I don't know whether to start with my health or with the election.
Why don't you start? What's most important? Why don't you start with your health, Mom?
My health may be as a result of the election. Because I have had...
Do you have, Mrs. Blechman, was it you diagnosed with Trumptosis?
Well, you're laughing, but it's not funny.
Oh.
I have had an itch on my entire body for about 6 weeks. And a month ago, I went to the doctor and he gave me prescribed a cream that I used that didn't help. And I've just been suffering ever since. But this morning when my masseuse came in, the first thing I asked her was, do I have a rash on my back? And she said, yes, I have a rash on my back. And I said to her, it's funny, I don't remember ever having this kind of thing. And then after a little while, I remembered that when my children were very young, I had a very rare nervous disorder disease. And I had a rash all over my body. And they had to give me arsenic to clear out my bloodstream.
Arsenic.
And I don't remember what they called it, the name of it. I have to try to look up on the computer and see if I can find that name. I don't recall the name of what they called it. But I'm worried that I have that again, maybe. Because I have been nervous and upset about so many things lately.
Mrs. Blechman, it's Scott Morrell. I'm not a medical doctor, but I could imagine what you're going through watching the debate and having this nervous reaction. Are you still using that cream, by the way? Are you still using it?
That the doctor
Yes.
prescribed? No, I used it and it didn't help.
Okay, let me suggest something. Just go to UPS or FedEx, whichever one you prefer. Send it right back to, right up to Donald Trump. I think he has a good use for the cream.
Mom, who saw this breakout? Was it this morning, your masseuse?
Well, I thought I saw it. It's hard for me to see my back, but I thought I saw a rash, and I've been scratching like mad. I've been scratching something awful. And I saw the first thing I asked her was, do I have a rash on my back? I itch all over, but I don't see rash on my arms or anything yet.
Could be that hot Florida weather.
Mom, has your masseuse listened to any of your shows, Mom?
Oh, she called me yesterday. My masseuse called me yesterday, all excited that she finally listened to my last show. And she couldn't believe it. She complimented me so that I have a very fat head this morning. She said such wonderful things to me, like she's so happy that I've been a part of her life, and she thinks I'm marvelous, and that the show was absolutely terrific. And I told it like it was. And she went on and on and on, and she said she's going to send it to all her clients where I used to live.
Scott, I think there's a association of world-class masseuses around the world. Don't you think Mom's masseuse should maybe get the shows out to the association?
Yes, I mean, every five-star hotel has a masseuse, and a lot of people in wealthy areas have in-house masseuses. I think it's a great idea.
Instead of playing music during a masseuse, they could play my mother's shows.
Yes,
That's a good idea.
What do you think of that, Mom?
We're all laughing here about this election and everything. And I'm starting to cry. I can't believe what could happen. I asked my masseuse this morning, do you think that when Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are together, do they frisk him to see if he has a gun on him in his pocket?
Mom,
I feel like at this point, that's what we could get to.
Mom, I didn't know if you were going to be available this morning. Randomly calling you, putting you on the spot, but and we're doing a full show after you. After we felt the show should start off, because here in the news, I mean, they're using the word that this has broken out into a civil war. What's going on politically?
It's horrible. It's horrible.
And I
worry about something terrible, really terrible happening.
If I could just, because we love to go to you, if I could just ask you two questions. If you could go back 2 days and give your opinion of the debate, and then after you give your opinion of the debate, what do you think of what's happened post-debate, the last 36, 48 hours?
Well, I think the debate was absolutely disgraceful. I can't even call it a debate. I can't even call it a debate. I think that Donald Trump definitely performed better than the first debate. His performance was better, but his content was the worst, the very worst. And the snorting, I'm beginning to believe that maybe he's on cocaine. This
No.
man is simply out of his mind.
No, but there's another theory I'll get into about that, Mrs. Blackman.
Let Mom finish, Scott. Then everybody's going to get their turn.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mom.
Of course, I didn't agree with anything that he said, and I thought that everything that he brought, I thought that the women he brought was an absolute disgrace, and it had nothing to do with the Brooklyn Bridge. You know, I mean, we all know about the Clintons and what took place then, and he was punished for it. And I see no reason to take what he did out on her. And as far as she being nasty to the women, I mean, do you all have wives? You think your wives would talk nicely about the woman that you abused? I mean, whose wife would sit back and say she's wonderful? Are you there, Dean?
We're there, Mom. We're listening attentively to you, Mom. Go ahead.
All that to me was crap.
How about, Mom, what's happened since the debate, the last 24, 48 hours, what you're seeing on TV and what you're seeing at meetings that Trump and Clinton are holding?
Well, what's happening with the Republican Party? I mean, they're falling apart at the seams, but they dug a hole for themselves. I said from the minute that Obama was elected that the Republican Party was going to be sorry for all the things that they did. And I feel like I was right. They dug such a deep hole for themselves that they can't come out of it now.
What are some of those things? Could you elaborate for us, Mrs. Blechman? It's Anthony, by the way.
Oh, you aren't aware of what they did to Obama? From the minute
I wasn't following it back then.
From the minute that he stepped into office, I think that it was very racial. They were very angry that a black got into the presidency, and they did everything to block everything that he did. I mean, it was a miracle that he got to do anything.
Wow.
Now, you're not aware of that?
No, I wasn't following politics back then. I was just getting out of school when he became president.
Anthony was only 21 back then.
Oh, well, the Republicans didn't, they voted down everything that he wanted to do.
Wow.
Things that they themselves wanted to do, when he suggested it, they voted it down.
True.
Okay, let's go around the room and let's go over to the UK. Why don't we start with, we're going to give everybody, because we've got a lot of show here to do that we've got to do after you, Mom. I wanted to try to get you in on first since the political situation out there is hotter than ever. So let's give everybody a chance here to address you and maybe ask any questions or have any dialogue. Let's start with...
Bernie, now I want to say one other thing about his tax returns. Bernie Sanders says if everybody would be a genius like Donald Trump, and not pay taxes, we wouldn't have a country.
Mom, let's start with Scott. Let's go over to the UK first, and let's start with Ria. Ria, are you there?
I am here. Hi, Mrs. Blackman, and I love
Hi,
your comments.
Ria, I don't know what age bracket you're in, but do you remember all these things that I'm mentioning?
I do, darling, I do. I was following contently at the time. I have quite a lot of background on what's going on. I said something to your son the other day, which sort of kind of suddenly, firstly, I agree with what you're saying. And here in the UK, it's not in the mainstream media. It's not so much pro Hillary Clinton, but it's very anti Donald Trump. That's what's going on in the mainstream media in the UK at the moment. But I was saying to Dean the other day that when President Obama was elected, although the internet was there, it didn't have the impact that it has today. And I think a lot of the badness that's come about with this election that's shown is a lot to do with the internet, actually, darling.
I didn't get that, Ria.
Ria, if you could explain a little bit better to Mom.
Okay, I think in this modern day of the internet, for example, Donald Trump brought up the WikiLeaks thing. I'm just saying that the internet is having a really big influence on the election and the debate itself, as well as people's opinions, where it's heightened and become a very bad thing, Mrs. Blechman.
Yes, I agree with you on that, Ria. I agree with you on that. And I find that that's the problem with all our young people, because they're constantly on the internet and listening to all these things, and they don't really know if they're the truth.
I wasn't sure if I knew the truth either, but I'll pass it around the room. Back to you, Dean.
Thank you, Ria. Let's go over, Mom. We're going to go over to Anthony now. He's got some comments.
Yeah, no, a lot of it was a very valid, and Ria, that was an interesting point that you brought up too. You know, I mean, it's so much to process. You almost start to get burned out. I think I'm probably going to go home with the itch today too, Mrs. Blechman. I wouldn't be surprised because it just really, I'm starting to almost get a headache from all of it. But my only comment would be to the fact as far as, you know, you guys knowing about what happened with the Clintons. I think Trump's appeal is to my generation, the millennials that were little kids, 3, 4, 5 years old when the Clintons were, you know, when Bill Clinton was president, and you know, we didn't hear about those things because we were so young. The only thing that I remember was the Monica Lewinsky scandal because it was just so big when I was a little kid. But I don't ever remember about the things that had happened as far as the abuse and things like that. So I'm going to assume that's probably why he had brought it up to regurgitate old facts, but to also shed light on it for the younger generation that wasn't old enough to have known about that. You know, so that's really all I have to say about it.
Well, but I don't think that was fair or would mean anything. It would just make the campaign dirty. I don't see where that had any relevance at all to this thing, to this election.
Mom, we're now going to give Scott Morell a chance to chime in with you now.
Hi, Mrs. Blechman. I have never been so saddened watching this horrific election happen before our eyes. We are not talking about policy. We're talking about personality. It is as dirty as the sewers of Calcutta. I don't know how we got to this, and I think it says more about us as a people right now than anything else. I think Trump is a manifestation of the divisions that we have. You know, you have these consultants like Kellyanne Conway, Steve Bannon, Rudy Giuliani. I like Giuliani, but now he's gone so insane, basically. He doesn't make any sense. Steve Bannon runs Breitbart News. I mean, he's going to form, this is what's going to happen. This is my prediction. Trump's going to get destroyed, not lose. He's going to get destroyed. The Republicans are fleeing from him. They're still going to have attachment because what did it take to flee? They're all fleeing. They're going to continue to flee. He's going to get a record low. And what's going to happen is that he's going to be on the scene criticizing Clinton for the next 4 years. He's going to probably get some radio show, and he's going to be a leader of the alt-right movement. So what you have now is the Republican Party in a bind. They're already stuck with him. They can't get rid of him. It's 4 weeks away. But if they stay with him, they're attached with his statements. So there's going to be a fight on November 9th of the survival of the Republican Party because there's a likelihood that they'll lose the Senate. I don't know about the House, the Senate, and then they'll have the presidency, the Democrats. So it's just a horrible situation, and all we could hope for is that Donald Trump doesn't continue this scorched earth policy. It's not going to help him with his branding down the line. Upscale people are not going to be going to his hotels. And at the end of the day, people forget, and Anthony was definitely too young for this, but I could tell Anthony that, I got to tell you, the 90s were the greatest times. And Bill Clinton left after being impeached. His poll numbers skyrocketed. It blew up on Newt Gingrich. And he left one of the most popular presidents, and he's still one of the most popular presidents today. His false equivalency, what Bill might have done, we know he did something in the White House, compared to what Donald Trump said he did, which is sexual violence and all the discriminatory things. There's no equivalency, and they're putting Bill Clinton as if he's the president. It's Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton, and there's no comparison. And by going through this policy, it is going to destroy the Republican Party. That's my opinion.
Right, and destroy Trump. He's not going to come back like Clinton did. Now, I heard someone this morning who I like. Dean Langone was on this morning.
Ken Langone.
Yes,
Ken Langone, the NYU hospital is now NYU Langone.
And I like him, and I didn't like what he said today. He said that the Republicans never liked Trump. They just used him as a tool to win the election. They thought he could win the election, and they used him as a tool. And I resent that. I resent the Republican Party doing such a thing.
Mrs. Blechman,
and not caring about the country first.
Ken Langone was one of the founders of Home Depot.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Mrs. Blechman.
Yes. And he's a friend of mine, and I like him. I always felt he was such a nice person. But I resent him this morning for making such a statement, and he says he's voting for Trump.
Mrs. Blechman, it's Scott again. I'm not sure if they supported him. I think they were between a rock and a hard place. The grassroots of the Republican Party felt like they were disenfranchised. They grew, they were angry, and out of the swamps came Donald Trump. He beat 16 people fairly.
Excuse me, I have to interrupt you.
Sure.
But earlier on, they could have gotten rid of him.
How?
They said all along that if they had done something earlier and not let him get so far.
There's nothing in the rule books that say that.
Okay, well, listen, we could go on for hours, and we've got a lot of shows still left that we have to do, Mom. I just want to mention, I don't mean to get you more distressed. I know what this election is doing to a lot of friendships and to a lot of families. And, you know, we have it right here in our own family, the Blechman family, that I just reached for my phone, Mom. And, my brother, Steve, your son, and his family, I just want to let you know that I have a text that was delivered on Monday from Steve, and it says the following: Trump was brilliant last night with 3 exclamation points. You can never count him out, Dean, with 3 exclamation points. What do you think of all that, Mom?
Well, I think I told them they're part of the stupid group that are his supporters.
nothing like speaking to your son that way.
I told him that when we were at the wedding.
There's definitely going to be a lot of money saved this year.
They're sweet, and I told them that that's who they are. The unintelligibles, intellectuals.
People are going to be saving a lot of money this year on Hanukkah and Christmas presents after discussing politics amongst their friends and family.
That's right. There'll be no exchanges.
Mom, we're gonna have you.
I do feel very sorry for the Trump children.
I don't.
Whom I dislike. But it's unfortunate. I feel like they inherited his father's their father's traits.
Yeah, but
it isn't their fault.
But you can make your own decisions. The only one that's coming across that looks like a decent human being is Ivanka. The other two,
no,
they
I
are
don't like
horrible.
Ivanka
Well,
either.
but the
I
other
don't
two,
like Ivanka
okay,
either.
but the other two are as arrogant and pompous as he. They stand by him. It's one thing to be a son and daughter, and if you don't like the politics, don't stand by you. Say, Dad, I love you, but I'm not going to stand by you and talk for you. Once you get engaged, you own that, and I do not respect those kids.
Well, I don't respect them either. However, I do feel sorry for them because they're not wise enough yet, even though they think they are. And they have their whole lives to live. And I think that he's now damaged their lives. And it's going to be very difficult for them to live with this for the rest of their lives. And I have to feel sorry for them. I do. I have to feel sorry for them. On the other hand, I see Chelsea just like Hillary, and she is tough and she'll withstand it all.
Mom, on that note, do you have a Scrabble game tonight?
No, I had a Scrabble game last night.
How'd you do?
I had a Scrabble. I didn't win, but I did okay.
Okay, well, we've got to say goodbye to you. We've got to continue the rest of our show. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to say, but we've got to move on with the rest of our show.
It was just a pleasure speaking with you this morning.
Mrs. Blechman,
And I see your friends softening a little bit, which gives me much pleasure.
Well, let's go over to Rhea on that. Rhea, did you hear that? Mom says that you're softening over there.
Oh, it was directed at me, was it?
I think so.
she can't believe it.
To you, Rhea, to all three of you.
Wait a minute. I was always on your side, Mrs. Blechman. Excuse me.
Mom, Scott was always on your side. It was Anthony and Rhea.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
But you can go ahead, and I hope you feel better, Ma, with the rash, and tell your masseuse to keep spreading around the world to all the masseuses that to please listen to your son's show, the Dean Blechman Show, okay?
Oh, she's going to spread it around to plenty of people because she has a very large following.
And
she goes to a lot of clients. Yeah, she's going to spread it around.
Okay, Mom, tell Caesar he could start to disconnect, and I want to wish you a great day the rest of the day, and I'll be in touch with you. You'll be on we'll have you on next time. If there's a next debate, the third one, you're gonna have to be on before the debate.
Oh, I hope there isn't going to be another debate. Do you expect it to get better?
No.
I mean, it's going to be downhill.
It'll be hard.
Why don't we ask
Rhea?
Let's ask Rhea that question. Rhea, Mom wants to know if the third debate is going to get better.
Guys, I think they're going to need security for the third one. That's my take on it. I think it's just going to get way worse, not any better.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Mom. So listen, have a great rest of your day. I love you, and I'll be in touch.
I love you too.
Okay, love you, Mom.
Thank you, Mrs. Blechman. We all love you.
Take care, Mom.
Bye, Mrs. Blechman.
Wow. Woo.
Wow. She has a lot to say. She is really informed and
We love
very
her.
emotionally.
We love her here.
Yes,
She's
we
great.
do. We do.
She's great.
I love surprising her with those those phone calls, huh? The rash.
She tells it like it is.
Yeah.
She thinks,
she does.
She thinks the stress of the political landscape is making the rash worse.
She's probably right.
I said it's Trumptosis.
Stress is the silent killer. Stress is this, you know.
It is, and
it can
actually,
cause a lot of problems.
It actually is. It's the worst thing.
Yeah.
Now, Scott, I know you coming in for this show today that you were a little late, and I know your friends here, Rhea,
A little.
and Scott, and Anthony were getting a little uptight that you were late, that you had to pull over. I think it was either on the Long Island Expressway or the Northern State Parkway. You were worried about losing frequency, and I think for about an hour and a half, I think it's my understanding you were texting me that you were on hold with CNN. I think Michael
Smirkanich.
Yes, Markanich. That's amazing. That there was you were waiting to be spoken about something about with what's going on with Trump Ryan.
Well, yeah. First, I think Rhea probably has a picture of me on a wall and doing bow and arrow target practice right now. Anthony barely shook my hand. Dean, you were gracious.
I actually didn't shake your hand.
You didn't. You're right. I didn't even get the bump.
No fist bumps, you.
But you know what? I was listening to Michael Smirkanich, and he's really right in the middle. And the question was a great question. Who do you think will come out better after this election, Donald Trump or Paul Ryan? I thought it was a great question, and I wanted to opine on it. And I was on for an hour and 20 minutes. I would have made it here 15 minutes early, but I was concerned about the signals. I stopped at a church. I stopped at a delicatessen, and I think an Exxon a gas station. People were saying, what's going on? And then I finally gave up. But I actually think that
Scott, wait a second. You did not give up. You sat. You walked in this house for a half hour.
Yes, but
for a half hour. Sat at my kitchen table. Thank God Sharon
waited.
Sharon had her pastries and muffins that she always had. I put a good cup of coffee in your hand. So you sat at that kitchen table outside the studio here for another half hour waiting to get on with CNN.
The only person more important than Dean Blechman to Scott is Michael Smirkanich, or whatever that was name is.
First of all, when I came in, Dean, I had to do some muffled gymnastics because those muffins are so appetizing. I didn't have any breakfast this morning, and I was still on hold, so I had to have a smaller piece of the muffin, so I'm not still eating, just in case I get on.
Just in case they let you on,
right?
Which they never did. For
exactly.
The record. If you guys are listening out there, Scott kept us waiting, and they never patched him in.
And Anthony makes a good point. I don't think I get any credit for hanging in there because I don't think Anthony and Rhea share that view whatsoever.
Okay, well, I want to go over to Rhea. I want to give her an opportunity. Obviously, Scott's if there's anything she wants to comment in regard to that half hour that we just had with Mom, and any of Scott's comments, the political front here in America, what's going on, their feelings over there in Europe, and obviously also commenting, Rhea, I know I'm hitting you with a lot, but how you like it that Scott held us up for about an hour and a half because he's on the phone with CNN.
Waiting for this.
It's all yours, Rhea.
So let's start with Scott. Starting with Scott, he comes in and it's on speakerphone, and it's really quite abusive stuff, I felt. And then it's really loud as well. It's loud in here. So I've come on to do a show, and Scott's talking at a million miles an hour. And I asked if he drinks a lot of coffee today, and he said yes. And also this thing is belting out of my speakers in the studio. And I'm thinking to myself, half an hour, 3/4 of an hour later, thinking, wow, you must be good at something for your wife to put up with you. So that's where I was getting. And then I just pressed the mute button. So that's the Scott thing. I won't go into any more than that. But you must have something very cool going on, Scott. That's all I can say. And the next one is your mum. Your mum is lovely, and I would never disrespect her. No, never, ever, ever. Any of the elders, because they hold a lot of the answers to what's going on. And it's such a shame that she's so affected by it, really, because as I've said months ago to you guys, I don't think, I mean, who am I? Just an outsider, but looking in from the outside, I don't think it's going to make that much difference to America which one of them gets in, to be honest. And that's me, Dean.
Wow. Anthony, what do you think? Any comments on what we're discussing here this morning so far?
Oh, I mean, I just, I you guys just kill me, It's always funny, really. If I don't laugh, when it's
We cry.
Yeah, right. Like, I just think it's, as I said it before, the only person more important than Dean Blechman is Michael what's his name? I don't even know the guy. I'm like, God, what are you doing? Who is this? He's like, oh, he's blah 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 from blah blah blah. And I'm like, and why are you on hold right now? Like, why is that more important than this show? Like, who gives a shit about this guy? I mean, what? Really? But,
It was a test of my patience.
When I walked into the kitchen, every minute they kept coming on, Scotty, and then Scott's like, when am I coming on? Am I next?
Wait, so you're an only child, right?
No.
You're not?
No.
Oh, because I'm an only child.
Yeah.
I thought you had like the only child syndrome
No,
going
I don't.
on. You just do what you want, because that's kind of what I do, but
Well, Smirkanich is hard to say, so they said you could tweet me at Smirkanich if you could spell it.
Getting off the politics front here, Anthony and I had a great show yesterday with a very special guest. His name's Adrian Clark. He owns a company called AC Sports Management, LLC. He's a boxing manager, and very, very unique situation. He's only 30 years old, and, he was this past January, Forbes magazine every year publishes the future young stars from the world of sports that are either athletes or on the business side. And the headline for January 2016 was Meet the Young Superstars from the World of Sports. And you have to have very strong personality traits, confidence, humility, excel at what you do. And every year they do under 30, the 30 they pick that are under 30. And it's just a great story. Everyone, my listening audience, has to hear this show. Adrian Clark, it's show number 24 on the YouTube channel. But this young man, he never had a mentor to consult with when he needed guidance. He never had an investor or any financial backing. What his story is that he began reading Forbes magazine as a young kid back in 2011. He picked up his first copy of Forbes magazine, which had Jay-Z and Warren Buffett on the cover. He knew Jay-Z, but he never heard of Warren Buffett. But what happened, the long and short of it, is that when Adrian picked up his first magazine of Forbes, he said, I'm going to be in this magazine one day.
Wow.
And it came true in 2016. He's a very up-and-coming manager, sports agent. He picked his niche, which is boxing, and just a fascinating guest and a great story, very inspirational, educational,
yeah.
And just a great show we had. Anthony, what do you think of it?
Yeah, he was amazing. It's nice to see young people, like even we had Cody and Zach here, and even Patrick. He's much, much younger than us, but to see somebody his age at 30 and to have, his career started budding, even he was younger than 30 when he finally started kind of breaking onto the scene from the way I understood it, but super inspirational. Just so ambitious and very driven, very focused, and it was really a wonderful thing to see.
Just amazing. How popular does boxing have any popularity in the UK or in Europe, Rhea?
Yeah, I think it's not something I follow, but yeah, no, it does. You got the sports bars that have the big TVs up and do are they called boxing matches? Boxing something or other? Yeah,
Yes.
No, it's quite popular.
It is so special to be named every year to this list. Adrian was in, I'm not going to name all 29 names that were with him, but when you start being in the company of some names like Stephen Curry of the Golden State Champion Warriors, they didn't win it last year. Cleveland, LeBron won, but just a great, great basketball player. Jose Aldo of the Fighter of the UFC. You've got a great lady, Christine Baugh, who's a PhD candidate at Harvard University. She was a former Division I college athlete. I mean, Christine's research today is on concussions in sports and how it's formed a national debate. You've got Antonio Brown of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Scott, the great pitcher this past week that beat the New York Mets, Madison Bumgarner is on the list with Adrian. A great one, Monet Davis, when she was 14, captured the hearts of America with the World Series in Little League back in 2014. You've got great quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, Cam Newton. The list just goes on that Adrian's in company with. So just a great day yesterday. Anyone that hasn't listened to the show,
Definitely listen to it.
You've got to listen to it. So on that note, I know there's some big news regarding the Samsung Galaxy Note 7 this morning. I mean, they're totally not only just taking it off the market, they're ending it.
What?
Not sure they're ending it. I didn't hear ending. They're not selling it anymore.
They're ceasing production.
But once they fix the problem, I'm sure they're going to go back.
Okay, well, it looks like I'm going to be holding on to my
don't change.
Samsung Galaxy Note 4.
I'll move with the rest of us and go to the iPhone.
Rhea, do you...
Permanently stops production right here on BBC News.
Hey, listen, am I current?
You are, buddy. You
Okay,
are current.
come
I gotta
on.
give you credit. Scotty's got you.
Come on.
Wait.
Let's go. Let's
Open
go
it
over.
up.
Let's go over to Rhea. Rhea, am I current?
You are current. It was announced today, and they're just absolutely those two bits together, Samsung and 7. They're burying it, and at the same time, they're going head on in court at the moment with Apple about Samsung allegedly, quote, ripping them off on a lot of their features, unquote.
Wow.
I didn't know it was permanent. I thought once they fix it, why would they call it permanent? That means they're not going to go back into the phone market? Is that what it is?
No.
Okay.
The Galaxy.
Brand damage.
Samsung Galaxy
This
and
is
the number
strictly
7.
This is strictly the number 7.
Right. So they're ending the 7 forever. That's permanent.
That's the way I take it.
Is that what
Yeah.
you take it, Rhea?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was announced this morning because it's been such a bad thing.
Wow.
That the Galaxy and the number 7, that's it. It's over.
And it happened twice with the same model. They said if it was once, if it is quote from the BBC, if it's once, it could be taken as a mistake. But for Samsung, the same thing happened twice with the same model.
Well, the thing that triggered a lot of it as well, Anthony, was one of them went off on an aeroplane.
That's right.
Wow, just went on, just spontaneously combusted.
Well, yeah, I assume they were using it, and poof, up it went.
Another thing
Dangerous.
that is a little geopolitical, and I think Rhea would have a lot to say about this. Rhea, what's frightening to me is that Moscow has confirmed the army is moving the nuclear-capable Iskander-M missiles into Kaliningrad, which is a part of Russia that is in the middle of Europe, actually bordering Poland and Lithuania. That is as aggressive as you can get. How are the Europeans feeling about that right now?
Oh, that's a big one, Scott. I think they're already there, actually, darling. Kaliningrad is... Where do you start and make it simple? Kaliningrad is very, very Russian, very much Russian, and adjoined. Belarus have joined. When you say it's aggressive, some would argue with you that if you found Russia on your borders, across Canada and Mexico and in the sea next to you guys, would you consider that aggressive? So on balance, geographically, the US and the coalition are on all the borders of Russia, and that is considered aggressive. So I think you need to put the shoe on the other foot, really. How would you guys feel if Russia was on your borders and then you sort of did something to defend yourselves, and then Russia said, well, that's aggressive?
Well, I think there's a little distinction. I understand what you're saying. Listen, Russia has their protection within their own sovereign territory. They have this their sister state called Kaliningrad, which is within Europe. So the way I look at it is, if we put Missouri in the middle of Russia, just in the middle of it, north of Georgia, south of Moscow, and then we armed Missouri with those nuclear weapons, wouldn't that be an act of aggression?
No, because you would have already been under siege. Russia have been under siege from the US and the US coalition for ages. And do you know where the old Iron Curtain, do you know where the border is of the Iron Curtain in Europe?
Wasn't it the Berlin Wall, the Czech Republic, Hungary, that area?
Yeah, it was. You draw a line down there and it basically goes from Northern Europe up near Kaliningrad and draw it down to Austria. And all those countries that meet the old Iron Curtain are on a state of emergency now and have been for some time. So you still have the existence of what was Russia. And the southern part of Moldova, they've now gone back to Russia. And they're starting to, people, because of the disarray, and everybody thinks is coming, are starting to declare where they stand, as it were. And Kaliningrad have declared, Lithuania, Latvia and Estonia, not really sure where they lie. Belarus has declared, well, I won't even tell you what they said. And obviously you guys have got into the Ukraine. So we stand apart there, Scots, on The View.
Okay. But overall, if we look at it in a broader text, do you feel that Russia has shown more aggression recently? I understand that the U.S. is in Iraq, obviously not trying to overthrow government, trying to get rid of ISIS. But Russia's been condemned by almost every United Nations member so far for the indiscriminate bombings of Aleppo, which, by the way, Gary Johnson never heard of. Thinks it's like a Toys R Us shop or something. And I was going to vote for him, but after that was it. Aleppo, propping up the Syrian government, voting down resolutions to stop the ceasefire, coming and scooting by U.S. warships and planes. Just forget about the United States for a second. Between the United States and Russia, would you not agree that the Russians are being more provocative with the United States, or do you see it as an equal balance, a tit for tat?
Not at all. No, I don't see it like that at all. And so just to bring you update, maybe with a European feel, Russia are gathering momentum in popularity, particularly Putin, because people from the outside world that live in a different narrative to you guys, a very different narrative that they are seriously opposed.
Yeah.
See that they see the geographical thing, Scott. They see that America's in Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, the Ukraine, that you've now got the government in your pocket in the Ukraine. You are seen as a causal link. And unless that causal link between all this unrest is removed, nobody will ever know, because you've got the narrative that you live in. Europe has the narrative that they live in. It's really hard to trust anybody on what's being said, because what can be seen is who is positioned where. And that is what stands out amongst the world as we stand, as Putin is gathering and Russia are gathering popularity much, much quicker than you are aware of.
You make a very good point, Rhea. It's a complicated world. Dean?
Does Anthony, do you have
I
anything
just-
you
I'd
want
like
to
to
pitch
hear
in on
Anthony's
this
view on this.
conversation?
I had to just bring up just a funny point. They had some levity to this, but we're talking about the potential for, with Diana the other day, who's from Russia, talking about the potential for World War III. And she says, well, shit, you're from here, I'm from Russia. Where are we going to go? I said, I don't know.
It's normally Switzerland. That's the middle ground.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to switch back to our discussions on what we were discussing about Samsung, and also I assume market share is going to go to Apple's new iPhone 7.
It reached an all-time high today.
Yeah, and you guys are big Apple.
Oh, Scott is like the
Apple
Apple
consumers.
guy here. He's like permanently connected.
But I don't love actual apples. I'm just medium with that. Okay.
You guys, I assume you're all too young that you don't read AARP magazines.
No, I haven't picked up one lately.
Rhea, do you read AARP?
No, I don't. But I've got some topics here as well if we want to change it that's lighter, Dean, but carry on.
I'm shocked that you read AARP. It seems like he's so hip and cool.
Anthony, I think
I'm going to have to cut this part out.
I think this is the revelation of the show.
I do read AARP. And
Sorry.
Since we were talking about smartphones, I came across a great brief article today that's written by Renee Bacher in AARP, and it's the perils of smartphones. Scott, I wanted to go around the room. On average, how many hours a day do you think people spend on their phone?
I would go with, let's say, 7.
7. How many hours a day do you, on average, spend on your phone?
That's everything, texting, telephone, the whole thing?
Everything.
Okay. I would have to admit, probably 5. I'm sad to say that.
Rhea, let's go over to you. How many hours a day on average do you think people spend on their mobile devices?
People, a lot. I have a topic here regarding it as well, Dean, but I hardly ever use my phone at all. So I'm not in the majority there, I don't think. What about you, Anthony?
You know, this is kind of tricky because I could see for people that are running their own business that are using, like, for example, I would use my phone for everything, but in my building where I work, I don't get a good phone signal, so I had to get a VoIP line. So if you asked me maybe 6 months ago, the number would be much higher. I just use it to text, and it's primarily when I'm done for the day. I'd say the average person spends 4 hours, and I probably spend maybe 2 to 4, let's say 3 hours a day if you totaled up all the minutes I was texting, putting the phone down, picking it back up, texting again, because that's all I really do on the phone: text, check email, and then browse very, very minimally on the web. Everything else I do on a desktop.
Well, there's about, on average, 5 hours a day is spent on mobile devices, okay. And there are 4 perils of health that are happening with you, Scott. That are happening. And I just want to
make me more depressed this morning.
I just want to share them.
After me not getting on Michael Smirkanich. Bring it on.
First of all, I think you're starting to get text neck.
Tech neck, yeah, tech neck.
Text neck. Okay, text neck. A whopping 90% of us text with our necks bent, which strains muscles, tendons, and ligaments. Flexing the neck forward at a 60-degree angle also puts 60 pounds of weight on the spine, leading to degeneration and arthritis.
Wow.
Okay.
Unbelievable.
So the fix to that is to stand upright, keep your phone 12 to 14 inches from your face, and the apps such as Head Up and Text Neck Indicator Alert when you're doing this wrong. That's good, Scott.
Wait, Scott, stay. I gotta get a picture of this.
No, when the show goes...
If I see people walking around texting like that, I'm going to die.
Right, exactly.
When the show goes video, that's going to be a perfect scene for us.
That felt very awkward and
next,
awkward.
That's going on Instagram.
Oh, thank
you. That's going on the Instagram page, huh? The show Instagram page.
I'm Skyping it to you right now, Rhea.
Please.
Rhea, the next one is bum thumb. Did you ever hear of bum thumb?
No.
Sending hundreds of texts a day. All that digit bending can cause inflammation in your fingers, leading to tendinitis or arthritis. And watch out for the trigger finger, a condition that causes fingers to get stuck in a bent position. You may need surgery to fix it. To fix it, use voice to text and take breaks when you're typing on your phone. Try to send most of your emails from your computer keyboard. If you feel discomfort, stop and rest your hands. Then gently stretch your thumbs and other fingers.
I gotta say, I love that voice to text. That's how I always text. Love
You
it.
too?
Although sometimes it does kind of
Scott, another thing that I noticed with your device is the eye strain. Some 65% of Americans suffer from digital eye strain, a condition characterized by dry, itchy eyes and blurred vision. Also, the blue light emitted by your phone may damage your retinas, leading to macular degeneration.
I'm sorry, Dean. That's the tequila I have before I come to the studio.
The last one is pulling over on the side to call CNN.
You're not serious.
And what's that guy's name again, Anthony?
Michael
Schmuckanish.
He's not going to get it for a week.
I'm
Schmuckanish.
surprised no Suffolk County police officers came over to you.
I would have had a
when
good
you
story,
did that.
though.
He would have said, officer, you don't understand. Sir, we have a warrant for your arrest. No, but just wait.
But the last condition is distractibility. It's tough enough to focus these days, but a smartphone can make this worse. It can take up to 27 seconds after disconnecting from a hands-free device to regain attention. The fix is turn off all your notification and check texts and emails only at particular times.
Buddy, I can't tell you how many times I've left here swerving down 25A because Dean's texting me because he can't wait. He can't wait 12 minutes until I drive down the block and get home. And it's 2 lanes with trees and people speeding on 25A here, and I'm like swerving around the corners and trying to text Dean at the same time.
Well, I'm glad Dean does not obviously practice what he preaches.
No, definitely not.
But he's correct with that article, and I've been telling my daughters, and I've been writing a lot of blogs, and one of my big themes is how technology, and I remember Rhea put this in a Let's Question It segment, how technology is changing us as a people, and I completely agree, and I'm guilty of it, but at least I'm aware of it, and the first step is to be aware of something, aware of the problem to fix it. So
you must admit you have a problem.
Yes. Well, I'm on the average. I'm not on the severe. I got the 5. Remember, I said 5. But that's interesting.
But I do read.
Guys, I have another solution.
Go ahead, Rhea.
Is what it is today. I only discovered this today. A brand new clinic has opened up regarding the topic that you're talking about. And it is the very first that I know of, and I think it is a world first. A clinic has just opened up for internet addiction.
Oh God!
Yes, I have heard of that, and it's very big. It's very big in I believe, Rhea, you probably know this, either Japan or China. Kids that are addicted, it's popular. They have rehabs for these kids that are addicted to, it's either the internet or video games, one of the two.
I don't know. The one that I've seen is actually in Algeria, but I'm sure it's the first of many.
Yeah.
Wow.
You get help, Scott.
Listen, I'm not. Please, I am not. I'm first the average, first of all, and Anthony would have been up at my level if he just had a better signal. So let's just call a spade there. And I'm not sure if I believe it's Dean's answer on that, based on the number of texts I get. I'm going to have to look into that. Rhea, I believe you completely. So we all have problems here in the States.
Hey,
I agree.
listen, I'm addicted to YouTube. I'll admit it. I don't watch cable TV, which is probably better, but I watch YouTube at night, and I just love watching different YouTube videos, music videos, prank video. I mean, it's great. You just have the whole world. Any topic you want, bodybuilding,
But you know what the problem is? I'm in my building. I'm going down the elevator. I'm walking the street. Everyone has the headphone with the smartphone. No one's looking at each other. It's so antisocial.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what the problem's going to be. We'll talk about that in a later show.
I know, Scott, that out of my friends here on the show, I know that you're with me. You're a big sports fan and a sports fan of history. I thought there was one of those great moments in sports last night that I'll never forget. There was David Ortiz, Big Papi of the Boston Red Sox, played his last game in Fenway Park with the Red Sox. And I bring him up because the past 20 years in his career, he really stands out as just one of the greatest professional sports stories in the history of sports, and especially the game of baseball. That in a tough town to play called Boston, that a Dominican, great guy, achieved almost like a cult status in Boston with his personality and his great hitting. That I look at him as probably, as much that great rivalry between the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees, that I can't think of anyone that was a bigger, greater Yankee killer than David Ortiz. Nickname is Big Papi.
Big Papi. You know what? I give him so much credit in so many areas. Not only was he explosive, but the fans loved him. I remember after the the Boston Marathon bombings. He was there to rally everyone in Fenway Park. He was booed, of course, every time he went to Yankee Stadium, which is the highest compliment you can ever receive. And the last thing is that he went out on top. He could have signed another contract. He wasn't going down. How many sports stars do you see do that? They try to milk out their contracts. I just give him a lot of credit.
Right, right. And he probably had, in 20 years, he probably had his best season. He's going out
It's unbelievable.
after playing his best season in 20 years.
Yeah, it's great.
Rhea, this David Ortiz, Big Papi, is athletes like that are few and far in between, and he was in a tough town, in a tough city to be a star, Boston. He was a inspirational personality and like a cult figure, just a great hitter, a great ambassador for Major League Baseball and all sports. I mean, you constantly saw him hugging everybody. Just an incredible human being, an ambassador, a great guy for the sport. I just, I know that you really don't follow baseball here in the States, but I thought it was very important to mention him today. He's played his last game at Fenway Park last night.
It was sad.
And it was sad.
emotional.
It was sad.
It was emotional,
He's gonna be really
He's
he's
gonna
gonna
be
be really missed.
Yeah.
Scott, do you remember those games when Big Papi would come up to the plate? When he slaps his hands with his gloves and he puts a little
Of course.
puts a little spit on those
Yep.
hands and puts them tight, and next thing you know, you're saying, why didn't they walk the guy?
Right, exactly.
How many times did you watch Yankee playoff games that you said, why didn't you just show him first base,
It always bit in the butt. Transitioning to that, I just want to ask Rhea something because she's there in the UK. Rhea, how is we haven't really talked about lately? How is the Brexit transition going? You want to add anything to that?
Well, firstly, on what you were just talking about, the sports guy sounds lovely. But as I said, because I know nothing about
I
it,
know.
and you may be speaking in Maldanese or whatever,
I figured that.
right? So I'm listening to your guys' accents, and I've said this to the dean before. When I say coffee and you say coffee, when you pronounce the word, or when O is in the word, Dean, say Boston.
Boston.
Bawston. It's Boston.
Boston.
So it's what I'm listening to is as the three of you speak, when that W appears next to the O and whose is strongest. And you guys pronounce that differently. So I'm wondering, weren't you all sort of born in New York and Long Island?
It depends on where your parents
Yeah.
were born. Like I was raised by my grandfather; he was born in Brooklyn. So a lot of people, when I talk, I try to be weary of it now. But when I was younger, they all thought I was from Brooklyn. And now, because I spend most of my day on the phone with my business, I have to be kind of conscious of my accent. But yeah, I believe it depends on where your parents are from that raised you, because that's where you pick up the accent.
100%. And yeah, just like when Rhea talked about, she put on those audios of different people in the UK, from Scotland to Wales and then Liverpool and Manchester, whatever. They all have a little dialect. New York, think of it as a country. And depending where you're from in New York, there's a Brooklyn accent, a New York accent, a Long Island accent.
Long Island.
Long Island, not Long Island. So you're correct about that. So anyway, Rhea, let's talk about the Brexit and how that's going. I'm sure you have a lot to share.
Brexit, what can you say about Brexit? An overview is we had some strong people carrying us towards Brexit. One big name was Nigel Farage, the other was Boris Johnson, that I'm sure you've heard of, or maybe not, I don't know.
Yes.
I'm sure you've heard of Nigel Farage. And they led Britain to the Brexit, let's say, and then they both bailed when they got it. So that was sort of an anticlimax, as it were. Then, since then, a new UKIP, who Nigel Farage, his party UKIP, who basically got the Brexit to happen and has had ripples around the world, certainly financially, he dropped out to be replaced by a lady, I can't remember her name. Well, she only lasted 18 days. She got spat out on the bus and she resigned. So he's now back in. And now Theresa May, who is our new stand-in PM, isn't gathering much faith amongst the people. Just recently, though, people kind of on her side because she was quite lively and spirited. But since she gave her announcement, I think a week ago, saying the question now is it a soft exit or is it a hard Brexit? And that's what people are trying to fathom out, because she's gone over to the EU. Well, Jean-Claude Juncker came over from the EU. He's your main man, who is incidentally unelected by the people. So that would annoy me straight away. You have sent over a guy to tete-a-tete with the PM and basically said to her, if you don't allow free movement with all the refugees coming into the UK, we basically don't want to talk to you. So that's where it is, Scott.
But I also hear, Rhea, too, correct me if I'm wrong, I hear that EU referendum is not legally binding and cannot force a Brexit. And I hear that there's some powers that be, whether we want to call it globalist influences or the other things that we've discussed on and off of air, that are pretty much forcing you guys to remain. I mean, do you have any insight on that you can share with us?
I do a little bit. I mean, I've heard a few people like you say it's not legally binding, but it is legally binding. It's a vote. Is what's not in that vote is when this needs to happen. So I think, yeah, right. So she's come out and said, the PM, Theresa May, saying it's going to be before the end of March. And as she said it, the market's kind of sterling dropped like a lead balloon. Which I guess is to be expected, as it were. But the whole thing is very destabilized. Nobody really knows what's going on because they're negotiating, supposedly. But as the PM has gone up there and said, look, Brexit means Brexit, the people voted, below the surface, people are kind of saying, well, what we do is we'll just leave it run a bit longer. And then if the markets fall to such a degree that may be enough momentum to carry a second referendum, and that's kind of what's going on, Anthony.
Thank you.
Wow, it's
quite dull. It's not very sexy, is it? I mean, it's all very dull.
Very good, Rhea.
Thanks,
very
Rhea.
Good, very good update.
We didn't know about that. Thank you.
You know, I saw recently this past weekend there were two stories in the New York Times that really stood out. You know how, I mean, once again, we live in two different cultures here in America, and our friend and colleague Rhea, that we're able to bring our two cultures together. So I don't know how popular pets are over there in the UK and Europe, how people feel about their dogs and cats and how popular they are, or whatever pets they have. But one of the big stories this weekend in the Times that fascinated me, it was a lead story, is medical marijuana, how it's crossing over, that it's booming for animals to alleviate a host of different pet maladies, including seizures, inflammation, anxiety, and pain. Just, what's happening, with Anthony, with medical marijuana here in the States. But,
huge.
But there was a feature story, how it's crossed over now to pets. I mean, I know you have a dog.
Yeah, love them.
Scott, do you have you have a dog?
Yeah, multiple.
Rhea, do you have a dog or a cat?
Sorry, I was messaging Anthony.
Do you have a dog or a cat, Rhea?
I don't have a dog or a cat, but my brother does. And he's beloved.
I was under the assumption Rhea had a sweet pussy, but I was wrong. I don't know what you guys are thinking. Just saying.
I was thinking of the debate, Donald Trump.
That didn't cross my mind. I don't know. You guys are a little bit sick, but I mean, I'm trying to keep it clean.
On that note, the best part about it, Diana shows me a news bit that the shirt Melania Trump was wearing was a Gucci shirt. It was it's like the Pussycat edition Gucci shirt, and they're like, "Did she do that on purpose?" Campaign swears, but anyway, so they're saying what the marijuana. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's alleviating seizures,
for
inflammation,
animals.
and anxiety. You know the way people are. I mean, I have a dear friend. I see him, usually in some of the restaurants locally over the weekend. I mean, his dog has cancer. He's had numerous dogs over the years. I mean, he could barely speak to me when he sees me because of what he's going through with his dog.
It's terrible.
He's tremendous pain. You know how people emotionally, it's
you feel your dog's pain.
I mean, it's your child.
Absolutely.
Matter of fact, this friend of mine him and his wife have no children. And I mean, always his dogs have been
His children.
And he'll do anything to keep this dog healthy.
Anybody,
and
any pet
survive
owner
and
will.
quality of life. He'll spend whatever it will
Absolutely.
take.
Absolutely.
He'll tell doctors, be honest with me, but if you're not, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
But I'll do whatever it takes and whatever it costs to keep my dog alive and quality of life.
There's a reason why they say man's best friend, because
It's true.
it's so
true. We love our dogs. We'll do anything.
But it's amazing how people are now going, besides humans, are going to this alternative of medical marijuana to take care of their dogs. I mean, I'll never forget. I mean, the only time when I was growing up, we had this beautiful Harlequin Great Dane. And I'll never forget the only time ever in my life I ever saw my father cry, only once, was when that beautiful dog passed away.
Wow.
I'll never forget. I never forget that.
Wow.
Looks like
UPS?
It looks like UPS is Rhea UPS is delivering their annual packages to Sharon.
Annual, daily.
Annual. Buy daily. Morning and night. Amazon now has Amazon Fresh.
Oh man, yeah. And when they start the whole drone delivery, you're gonna have drones flying here at the studio, and Sharon's ordering shoes and everything else, dropping them off.
Maybe that's how we could pick up Rio finally with a drone.
I gotta ask Rhea, does she have UPS in the UK?
Yes, we have you.
Yeah, they don't have the Pony Express over there still.
She's not in Zimbabwe or the Sudan.
You see what I was talking about, Rhea, when I was telling you about the cultural differences and the bubble that we live in here on Long Island. we had to ask because none of us were really sure if the UPS exists.
Rhea, are you still using a fountain pen with a feather?
The other.
You need to book into a clinic.
The other great article this weekend in the Times was the popularity of table tennis growing here in the States.
I didn't know
What,
that.
ping pong? You mean?
Yeah,
Are you serious?
yeah.
Is that what they call it? Table tennis?
They call
Yeah.
it table tennis.
That's like I know bus boys that take their job so seriously. Like, I'm not a bus boy, I'm a table technician.
Right.
Like, no,
Exactly.
You're a bus boy, and
Our
that's ping pong.
president-
Exactly.
Our President Obama is a huge table tennis player. I know he's a huge NBA and college basketball. He loves basketball.
Yeah, but he can't play it.
Okay, so he's one of how many Americans play table tennis? What you call ping pong? Probably here in the States.
Is there another statistic?
Yeah, another
Like,
statistic.
just as a hobby or as a profession? Is
Right.
there-
both
as a hobby?
both. Most-
Both.
I would say maybe less than 1% of the population. So 10% would be 30, 1% would be 3 million. I would say maybe 1.5 million. So 0.5% of the U.S. population.
So you say
play
you say 1.5 million play
ping pong.
Ping pong.
Yeah.
I would go. I'll go with 2.5 million.
2.5 million. Rhea, care to take a shot statistically?
Yeah, I'm going to go high. I'm going to go 15 million.
Ooh.
President Obama is one of 17 to 19 million that play
Wow.
table
Yay.
tennis, ping pong in the
You
United
got it,
States.
Rhea. She knows more about us than we know
It's like
about her.
10% of the population. That's crazy.
That's why she's on this show,
I know.
because she is a very beautiful, smart lady.
Absolutely.
Okay, and
I'm not going to add. Keep going.
she hasn't called me darling in a very long time, Scott.
Well, she called me abusive, so there's no problem with me.
Anthony, did you know that table tennis, ping pong, about 2 years ago, is now an Olympic sport?
No.
Yes,
it is. Yeah, it's an Olympic sport.
I mean, I have seen some impressive ping pong videos on YouTube
Okay,
where
of course.
where I've seen some really fascinating. There was one professional, I guess, ping pong player, and she bet, had a bet with this guy, and she played the whole game hitting the ball with a beer bottle instead of a paddle, which takes some incredible. I'm dead ass. I'll send you the link. Maybe we'll post a thing in the description if I can find it. But imagine the hand-eye coordination.
No.
To hit it with the neck of a beer bottle. Wow. The neck, not even the flat part. She was holding it upright and hitting it. Yeah. So
if you were to ask 100 people randomly if they knew that it was an Olympic sport, maybe 1 out of 100.
maybe, yeah.
I
Maybe,
knew. I
maybe.
knew. I knew it.
Of course, Scott knows everything.
No,
and if he doesn't know it, he just looks it up on his Apple Watch or his iPad or his iPod or his iPhone.
And did I just now?
No, you didn't.
No, and but by the way, that's not such a revelation. A lot of people do know about ping pong being an Olympic sport. It was just done. That's why it became news. Maybe around 3 Olympics ago.
I'm waiting for the day that beer pong becomes an Olympic sport, and that'll be something to talk about.
I never understood that other game. It looks like ice shuffleboard. What? How could that? Does sweeping
very
become
strange,
does
yeah.
sweeping become a sport?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? They
Strange.
sweep.
Yeah.
What is that called?
Some type of
sludge. I don't know. The luge. I don't know what it is.
no. The luge is what they go down. And,
I'm trying to come up with 2 words:
no.
shuffleboard and ice.
We have a ping pong table downstairs in our basement here, and for over many years with the kids growing up, you mentioned ping pong with what?
beer pong.
Beer pong.
Beer pong.
Oh, yeah.
That was a very active game downstairs in this basement. Even the Vachinsky brothers would tell you they participated many times in those games over the years.
As we admit to underage drinking on air on that show, and you.
Well, with social media, thank God I escaped that.
Yes, absolutely.
So
The statute of limitations has been passed. You're in the clear, Dean.
So on that note, I think we've had a great show here today. A lot of great conversation. I know we caught my mom by surprise there, but I thought it was important in light of the most recent debate and what's going on the last 2 days after the debate with the political climate. It was great that we were able to catch her, and I just want to go around the room before we bring the show to a close. If there's any other closing comments, I guess we could go over to Rhea first. Rhea, there.
I am here, darling, and I'm thinking, where have you got this line of questioning from? What are you reading?
What am I reading?
Where did you get the questions from?
What questions are you talking about?
Well, ping pong. I'm listening to you guys talk about ping pong. I'm thinking, where did that come from?
I had, if you were listening to me, I had told you that there were 2 stories out of the New York Times this weekend that really impacted me. And one was on pets and medical marijuana, and the other was table tennis.
Right, you gonna go for the medical marijuana option?
Maybe.
And get a motorcycle.
Speaking of the motorcycle, I haven't seen my neighbor since last week with the motorcycle. I hope he's okay. Anthony doesn't stop laughing. Anthony, you don't stop laughing. Huh?
You guys can't leave here. Yeah, I've said it before. My cheeks hurt, my face hurts, and then I got to spend the rest of the day talking on the phone, and I'm like in the Jim Carrey movie.
So, Anthony, what's the chance that when Scott Morell leaves the show, and he starts heading back home, he pulls over on the road and he starts to call CNN again, and he's still trying to reach, what's his name, Michael
Schmuckovich?
I do know one thing. My mom mentioned her friend Ken Langone, the former founder of Home Depot.
She's very mad at him, though, buddy.
his involvement with NYU. I'd love to get him as a guest on the show.
That would be great.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Would be.
With or without my mother.
Definitely with.
Yeah.
As long as we don't
That'd
bring
be
up
really
politics,
cool.
they'll be all right.
So, Rhea, do you have anything else that you want to close with before we give Anthony and Scott a chance to close?
No, it was lovely listening to you guys laugh. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's bright and breezy and quite different, so I enjoyed it thoroughly, Dean.
Well, thank you, Rhea. Anthony, anything on your end that you'd like to close with?
I just realized we're in October, and we're gonna have to do something cool for Halloween. Maybe we'll have the video set up by then. We could all wear costumes.
That'd be great.
Do a Halloween costume show.
Rhea, is it custom for you to dress up on Halloween?
It's been known, yes.
Maybe after Scott's comment, you can go trick-or-treating with him out here.
I don't know. I'm still learning about Scott. It's just starting to sort of come out to learn what Scott's about. But I have got a red dress with red devil's horns and stuff.
Nice. Well, I'm going to end with, after thoroughly being abused at the beginning of the show, because of my, not really tardiness, but my compulsion to speak to Michael Smirkanish for being on hold for an hour and 20 minutes.
Schmuckovich.
Right. Squeaky guy.
Yeah, but no, I thought after I took incoming fire, I think the show was really nice. I think it was nice banter. It really was. I liked it.
Well, on that note, I want to thank all of you once again for being here today. It can't happen without all of you. And what I like about it the most is I can't think of another show where there's such a unique chemistry that is brought together on this show, and how we keep it very transparent, we keep it very real, we keep it light, and we find a way to have a lot of fun. And there's nothing better in life than doing what we're doing. There's nights I can't even sleep because I can't wait to do this tomorrow. So I want to thank all of you very much. I want to hear from all our listeners. Listeners can reach out to us with the free text number for U.S. residents, which is 631-372-8849. We'd love to hear from all of you. Include your name and location, and we will mention you on the show. Please don't forget to like us on Facebook and to hit the subscribe button on the show's YouTube channel. If you would like to leave a comment, use the box below. If you would like to share your story, ideas, and be a guest on the show, please go to deanblechman.com and email me directly. I would like to thank all my listeners for being with us today. From all of us at the Dean Blechman Show, have a great day.
You've been listening to the Dean Blechman Show, live from Long Island, New York. From all of us here, we'd like to thank you for tuning in. We look forward to hearing your comments via Facebook, Twitter, Skype, and email. And don't forget, you can visit the webpage anytime for the up-and-coming guest list. From all of us here, have a good evening.